Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, it's been a wild season in 2024. The national media paying a lot of attention to some of the teams at the top and some of the upsets that we've seen. I'm telling you, as the season goes on in 2024, a team that nobody's talking about, that they should be talking about, Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. We said last week it feels like this team was kind of put in the trash can after that week one loss against Georgia. This is such an important conversation that not a lot of people like to talk about, and that is teams that get better throughout the year. This is what we're seeing with Clemson. Like, you're seeing a lot of teams kind of stagnate and not play very good football as they go into the month of October. This Clemson team is continuing to get better. And I thought Saturday afternoon was by far their most, I would say, complete performance against Wake Forest. And you kind of had a choppy first quarter, but ever since that second quarter, this Clemson offense specifically was absolute. It was a war machine. And I think it starts with Cade Klubnik, who is just night and day more comfortable running this Clemson offense in 2024 as opposed to 2023. And I think the thing that stood out to me the most after watching this game back again this morning, Wake Forest did a really good job saying, hey, Clemson's been pushing the ball down the field. They've been hitting a lot of explosive plays. That's kind of how their offense has been moving the rock as of late. We're going to take that away. And they did a really good job of it. Credit my Wake Forest Demon Deacons, 1 of 3 for Cade Klubnik, pushing the football 20-plus yards down the field. They took away that deeper third. What did Clemson do? Hey, we're just going to methodically march the football down the field all freaking game. They ran 85 plays, had 0 turnovers, 37 first downs, were 7-11 on third down. The ball was getting to pretty much every single playmaker, even though you didn't have a guy like Brian Wesco. This was an all-around complete performance, specifically on the offensive side of the football. I want to dive into what we've seen from this Clemson team, but Dale, I'm going to start with this. Like, people got to start talking about this Clemson team because we're seeing a lot of the teams at the top show some massive question marks. Clemson is answering those questions as the season goes on in 2024. Now, before we get into it, as always, to the Clemson fans, let it fly in the comment section. Though we've been talking a lot of Clemson football over the last couple of weeks. The Clemson fans have been amazing in the support. We appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And Dill, I'll give you the T-box here. Let's start with this Clemson offense. This is after that game against Georgia. 4 out of their 5 football games, they've had over 500 total yards of offense, this one including. What did you see from this Clemson offense Saturday afternoon against Wake?
I think you kind of saw the depth of ways they can beat you now, which is so much
Yeah.
better than last year. Because you kind of said it. I mean, for the past, even like a game like Stanford, it's not like I thought their offense was particularly clean for the whole game. But again, they were able to hit big plays. So obviously, even without playing a super clean game, they were still able to score a zillion points. Then against Wake Forest, what you kind of said, like they weren't going to give Clemson those explosives. You saw that they still have guys like Brenningstool and Williams, guys who can still make plays, work the middle of the field, make plays after the catch. I think, again, we kind of talked about how badly Clemson needed to round out this offensive skill set in the ways they can beat teams on offense. I think they can beat you every which way. They can run the ball. Cade Klubnik, the way he using his legs, I think is far better than what it was last year. And also they can hit plays down the field and work the middle.
That's where I want to start. And Cade Klubnik and what we've seen from him. And I think a couple things that really stand out. One, the tight window throws, their money. Like, we knew this kid had the arm talent. Like, you're seeing the confidence that he has making some of those tight window throws. I feel like that kind of that smash concept to Antonio Williams for the touchdown, I believe the first touchdown of the game. That's an NFL caliber throw. I think another thing that I've noticed is anticipation. Like, last year, Cade Klubnik, he needed to see it before he was going to throw it. And that gave Clemson some problems. You're seeing Clemson and Cade Klubnik throw the football to your wide receivers, throwing them open. Like, at some points, throwing the football before the wide receiver even gets his head around. The anticipation that Cade Klubnik's playing, that just exudes confidence. Like, he knows that his playmakers are going to make plays. They're going to be in the right spots. And I think because of that, like, you're seeing Cade play so much more confident. But you finally said, and I think this is massive, like how he's using his athleticism. Not only in terms of running the football, but extending the play. You're seeing him much more comfortable manipulating a pocket. When it's time to extend the play outside of the pocket, he's keeping his eyes downfield. And when it's time to use his athleticism, which I wouldn't even say sneaky. He's just a phenomenal athlete when he's running the football. the balance in terms of using his athleticism to not only extend plays but also be an athlete running the football. He's kind of just well-rounded his game, and you're seeing just a complete quarterback performance week in, week out from Cade Klubnik here.
Yeah, I think a lot of that does have to do with the level that his wide receivers and tight ends are playing at, which is quite a bit higher. I mean, you see
Yes.
what PJ Moore means to that team. Obviously, Antonio Williams, when he's at full strength, I mean, he's incredible. I think he's really good on the boundary. Obviously, really, really good work in the middle of the field as well. So he's a really complete weapon. Again, I think you just see more rhythm when you talk anticipation. I think a lot. It's not only Cade Klubnik; it has a lot to do with they've stayed relatively healthy. Obviously, Brian Wesco is down, but Williams has been around pretty much the whole time. TJ Moore, once he's gotten inserted into that lineup, has been pretty mumuch a factor. And Brenningstool has been as consistent as you want. So I think you're starting to see him just develop some natural rhythm that we kind of talked about. I feel like people slept on it last year, how chunky or disrupted everything was by the fact that no one was healthy in the wide
Yeah,
receiver.
Dabo Swinney said in the press conference, like, you're finally seeing this offense play with chemistry. Like, you can tell Cade spent all offseason throwing to these guys, where you go back to 2023, they had, I believe, before the 2023 season in spring practice, they had 2 healthy scholarship wide receivers. And, like, you could tell last year that Cade didn't have a ton of confidence in his playmakers, and as a result, didn't really have confidence in this offense. You can tell this team is on the same page. And I think another thing I'll say, this offensive line, man, like, because they're staying healthy, because they're playing with the same 5 since they started the season, it's playing like a very good group, not only in pass protection, but running the football. And that's something that's sneaky about this Clemson team. They're top 10 in the country in terms of yards per carry. They'll film off as one of those guys that he gets better as the game goes on. He's not one of those guys that defenses want to tackle 20 to 25 times a game. The second half rushing production from Phil Maffa has been a massive storyline for Clemson. You kind of said it at the top, just the amount of different ways they can beat you. I have something in my notes here. 7 pass catchers caught 3 or more passes on Saturday against Wake. And it's everybody's getting involved. And you see that number, 7 of 11 on third downs. That has a lot more to do with what they're doing on first and second down. Like, last year, it felt like this Clemson offense was just in fits and starts. They were taking a lot of negative plays, getting behind the chains, not winning on first down. That third down conversion number, that's one of the most misrepresented stats we see in college football. Like, everybody wants to talk about how do you operate on third down. It matters a heck of a lot more what you're doing on first and second down, what the third downs look like, as opposed to what you're doing on third down. Clemson was efficient all day. I don't think they took many. I'm trying to think of how many negative plays they actually took, but it wasn't many. And as a result, like, this Clemson offense was staying on schedule and just moving the chains. 37 first downs is absolute ludicrous number.
Yeah, and they were clean all night. And I think you kind of like just summing it up, Cade Klubnik, like that's how you need him to look, where
Yep.
it didn't feel like he was playing fast or rushed or any of those things where last year, like, well, he'd get out of the pocket too quickly. Again, everything was kind of like he got out of the pocket when he needed to get out of the pocket, stayed in the pocket, delivered really good throws when he needed to do that. You just didn't see anything that was like, oh, I wish he wasn't doing that. It's just like, again, that type, like, if he plays that clean of a game, you see that. I mean, his arm talent's really, really good. His athleticism's really, really, really good. He makes plays on the run. He's a really complete quarterback when he's comfortable and playing at a high level.
I would also say a side conversation that I think I was impressed with is he didn't look good in the first quarter. Like, he missed some throws that he should have made. I feel like in 2023, you see him get shook a little bit, especially on the road. He didn't flinch. Like, he came back in the second quarter, and I think they rattled off 4 straight touchdowns, just completely poured it on Wake Forest. The
That's a
stadium was
good
empty
point.
going
They
in.
were bad in the first quarter.
They were bad. Yeah. And then, but again, like, I feel like we're so used to seeing Cade kind of wilt away, not have a ton of confidence. Him kind of bouncing back from an ugly first quarter. That, if you're a Clemson fan, like, you're not going to come out hot every single game. And having your quarterback be able to say, hey, I had a tough couple first drives. We're going to rebound in a big way, start pouring it on. That's what you saw from Cade. Again, not only on the field, but as a leader and kind of between the ears, you're seeing this kid completely kind of grow leaps and bounds. Now, going over to the defensive side of the football, I don't think we need to talk too much. We kind of knew Clemson would control the line of scrimmage against Wake Forest. Peter Woods looks back. They kind of got his feet wet a little bit last week, I should say. He's looking like he's kind of the Peter Woods we saw last year. Dill, the biggest storyline for me, we've given Avian Terrell his flowers all season. He's been, in my mind, one of the best cornerbacks in the country. How about the cornerback on the other side? Jaden Lucas, we said it going into the season. Like a healthy Jaden Lucas can be an absolute dude. And that's what we're seeing from Jaden Lucas so far in 2024. Kid's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's making them so hard to deal with because you kind of know how they like to play a little bit more aggressive cover one with a lot of man coverage. And when you have a cornerback on the opposite side of Xavier Terrell, who's playing at that type of level where you can kind of play that defense with him too,
Yeah,
and you don't really need to do anything to help him out or not a whole lot. I mean, I think they can really stifle some. I
you're
don't
right.
really they do down.
So sorry to cut you up, but I think you're totally right. Like Clemson wants to bring some pressure, leave their cornerbacks on islands, play a lot of man coverage. You need the personnel to do that, and like I think they have that, right? Jaden Lucas, Avian Terrell, I think are emerging as some of the better boundary cornerbacks that you see in this conference and in the country. I think another note, RJ Mickens continues to make plays, dude, and that was a question mark for Clemson coming in, like the safety depth. There wasn't a ton of proven production, maybe relying on some young guys. We kind of said RJ Mickens going to be important because he's one of the only guys that has played any sort of significant football heading into 2024 in that safety room. He's been another all ACC caliber guy. And you look at how complete this Clemson defense is. Game records on the defensive line. Again, Peter Woods, as he continues to get back full strength, game records on the defensive line. One of the best linebacker duos in the country, right? Barry Carter, Wade Woodaz. I don't think it gets much better. And then you look in the secondary and say, you're staying healthy. The young talent has taken a step. This Clemson offense at all three levels is so dang complete. And now you have an offense that is starting to really turn it up. The ACC has been kind of a inconsistent, you might say, maybe just a flat out not a great conference, if we're being honest. Clemson and Miami are, in my opinion, are just far and away the best two teams. And I think at first, like after that Georgia game and early in the season, you kind of said, all right, Miami is that clear one. Clemson's a team that can push them, but Miami's on that pedestal. I love the Miami Hurricanes, but you make zero mistake about it. It's Clemson and Miami. I would book it. That's the ACC championship game. If these teams continue to play the way they are, I'm fired up about Clemson. I think people are going to finally start talking about them again as they can continue to stack these wins. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.